You are now listening to the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. This is episode number 10.
Thanks for listening to the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry, here to help educate, motivate, and put you on the right path to take control of your health through weekly discussions on topics in the medical field, public health arena, and in your community. And now your host, Dr. Barry.
Welcome to the Lunch and Learn. Today we're going to be talking about vaccines and autism. If you want today's show notes, please go to drpierresblog.com/LLP010. Again, if you want today's show notes, please go to drpierresblog.com/LLP010. And today's episode, again, is a very interesting one, very personal one for myself as a father with a child with autism. I'm going to be talking about another debate on vaccines and autism, and we're going to talk about where this controversy even began. We're going to be talking about some of the public health risks associated with this controversy, and we're going to talk a little bit about, what am I dealing with as a father of a child with autism, and when should you seek help for your child who you may be concerned that has autism as well. So stay tuned and get ready for a great episode today. We're going to be talking about vaccinations and autism. And, I always will caveat, I am not a pediatrician. I appreciate that, WAG, for sharing and liking. Much appreciated. I am not a pediatrician, so, I won't go into delve as far as, which medications, which vaccinations you need for what. But, being a parent of a kid who has autism and, hearing all of the rhetoric that we've unfortunately been hearing for quite some time now as far as vaccinations and autism, I definitely wanted to kind of put it out there. I mean, you have not had a chance, go ahead and check out drpierresblog.com/autism for my recent blog post, kind of detailing, what we're going on in that regards. All right. So, let's just get this started. What's going on, Wag? So let's talk about this controversy as far as, and I hate to even call it controversy because honestly it's really like one side yelling and then the other side kind of having, and the other side being the ones who actually read the evidence on it, having to kind of defend our side. And it's very weird for those who our website is drpierresblog.com. If you want just the free ebook, it is drpierresblog.com/free book. So you can go straight to there and it'll take you right to a download page to get that free ebook. So drpierresblog.com/free book. Again, much appreciated. Thank you, Dr. Tamika. So for quite some time, there's been this, this battle as far as, whether to vaccinate your children, and the reasons being, and not for, if they're like allergic or anything, but reasons being that there was this risk that they may become autistic. And the reason why that deals is that there was a research that, again, I talked about this in my blog post. There was a research study that was done that showed a relation with specifically the MMR, the measles vaccine, and an increased incidence of kids getting autism. That research has been, thoroughly dismissed, time and time again. But every now and then we're still having to continuously fight this battle. And what's concerning is that we just had a recent physician, Dr. Niedes, out of the Cleveland Clinic, who wrote a blog post who pretty much went on this same kind of tangent and talking about how he's not sure what's going on with these vaccinations. He's not sure what we, as in the United States, is putting in these vaccinations, but he has a strong concern that it's causing kids to become autistic as well. And so again, like we always have to do, the medical community kind of has to stand up and answer the ball again and say, no, it does not And research has told us over and over and over again. And I just wanted to kind of knock down a couple myths that I hear all the time, as far as like why do I know more people who are autistic, or more people who have autistic kids? And what's happening in the past 20 so years, we've actually become very well in tune as far as recognizing kids who are autistic. So we're looking for kids who are autistic more. We're looking for signs and developmental patterns, as far as, and we see this early. We see this, guidelines are usually starting about the age of 3, but if you're good, by the age of 2, you can kind of start seeing signs of development delays that we find in kids. And what's happening now, more and more kids are being classified as being autistic, or really, and I hate to say autistic, actually in the autism spectrum than ever before. But it's not because we're finding more kids, or more kids are actually being becoming autistic. It's just that we're just diagnosing it at a much more frequent rate that we used to do in the past. And because now, instead of saying you're autistic, we have you in the autism spectrum, so you can go from pretty much point A to point Z from a spectrum standpoint, as far as autism is concerned, as far as developmental delays is concerned. That we're just finding more, so more people are being kind of thrown into the group of autism spectrum again, which kind of accounts for the numbers in that regards. So that's a big thing, like why are we seeing more and more kids with diagnosed with autism? Well, we're actually looking for it. And I think that's a good thing, because we know from a treatment standpoint, the earlier the better. So if we can start, depending on the spectrum, if we can start, working on therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, behavioral therapy early, we know that in the long run, it actually helps them out. So we don't want, especially we, the medical field, we're not wanting to wait until they're 5-6 years old and they're having trouble in school before we start saying, something's not right here. So that's the reason why we're getting more and more kids who are diagnosed with the procedure with autism. Also, looking for, like, one of the big things that their arguments is that some of the proteins that are in vaccines are causing more of an increased risk of autism, which again, that's something that, and I won't say the name starts with like tumors or something. I won't even talk about the name, but it's something again that has been kind of debunked over and over and over again. But we tend to have a large following crowd who really truly believes this. So what's happening now is that measles, and again, remember, I'm public health, so I'm definitely, feel very strongly for like diseases like this. Yeah, so thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Tamika. Dr. Tamika, again, for those who don't know, is our America's pediatrician. So if you have not had a chance and you want any, facts and information on, especially for your kids, you can remember, I'm internal medicine. I only deal with adults 16 and up. Please follow Dr. Tamika's page as well. Please put that in. Put your link in our comment section so they can follow you, Dr. Tamika. So, you have this protein that, again, that they're blaming the protein. And the protein is the reason why we're having more and more kids with autism. And again, that's something that's been kind of debunked over and over and over again. But again, we still have to kind of fight this battle. And I kind of alluded to earlier, it's very difficult being in the health profession and kind of knowing all of that we know, as far as like we know that what that isn't true, but still having to defend it over and over again, because the crowd who really and truly feels that way are extremely loud. Which again, and of course, as your physician and as your caretaker, it's difficult because sometimes we know what's best for your kids. I know what's best for adults. We know what's best for kids. And we know in the long run, getting kids vaccinated is far and foremost extremely important from a life-saving aspect of it. But we have more and more parents who are going into it and just, flat out saying, I'm not going to vaccinate my kids. I don't want them to get vaccinations for these various reasons that they see on the internet, or they, read on blogs, or that they, watch Netflix movies about. There's lots of different avenues for people who don't want to vaccinate their kids to find people who will support them vaccinating their kids. And again, that's something that we do not support whatsoever. And then just kind of moving forward, especially when we talk about measles and from a public health aspect of it, is that now, because we're having more and more kids who aren't becoming vaccinated, we're getting more and more cases of measles. Measles was something that was almost on the brink of extinction But now, since the 80s, since these campaigns have come out and pretty much tried to battle against vaccinating your kids at all costs, we're starting to see these diseases that before we didn't even hear about, that are coming into our offices, coming into the emergency rooms, that are affecting us, near and dear. All the way to the point where now, like, even again, this is where I kind of come in. I have a lot of my pre-health kids who are going off to college, or even kids who are going off to college. If you don't have your measles shot, or if you're not up to date on your measles shot, you're not staying on campus. You're not staying in the dorm. So it's these schools, take this public health threat pretty serious. If you're not vaccinated, like you're supposed to be vaccinated, don't expect to stay in their school. Which I totally agree with. If you want to have kids who aren't vaccinated, that's great. That's well within your right. But you also should make sure your kids don't go around kids who are vaccinated, because again, if I'm not vaccinated against the measles and I go around people who are vaccinated against the measles, they're not used to maybe dealing with the measles that I'm used to dealing with, and then I can get them very sick. So again, you become almost a public health, not almost, you are a public health concern moving forward. So again, I think it's extremely important. Like I said, my caveat, I am not a pediatrician. I went into internal medicine, so I don't have, the only vaccinations I have to deal with are like the flu and pneumonia and shingles. But I'm, as a parent, and this is just me as a parent, with a child who's, my child's 4 years old now. She was diagnosed with autism, on the autistic spectrum when she was 2 by my wife, who's a mental health therapist. I'm not sure if my wife's still on, Maria Davis-Pierre. Go ahead and put your professional link in the comments as well. She was diagnosed at an earlier age than even normally expected, but because my wife just happened to be in that field, we were able to kind of pick that up early. And that early diagnosis has been hugely, immensely, from a perspective where before, she wasn't speaking, wasn't talking, very socially a recluse. So now, it's almost like night and day sometimes when you see her. So it's definitely something that, I try to champion at a much earlier prognosis from that standpoint, as far as looking for the signs and symptoms for your kids here. But again, so I have, of course, because now I have a kid who has autism. That's one of the first questions I get. What's going on, Steve? My brother's on the live as well. So of course, and then my brother also has a kid who's on the autism spectrum as well too. So again, and that's something that so it's something that it's kind of affected our family, being on the autistic spectrum. And because it's affected our family, I want to know, again, the eternist in me, I want to know all of these things that, I can do to kind of help and, help propel them and move them forward, especially from a social interaction, behavioral interaction and whatnot. So it's extremely important to me. So again, when I see these, the claims that the vaccines are what caused it, and internally when they say the vaccines are causing it, they're almost like blaming parents for vaccinating their kids. Like, no, if you didn't vaccinate your kids, they wouldn't have been autistic. And that's just a terrible, terrible way to look at it, and terrible predicament that you put parents in when you have them feeling that the choice that they made for their kid is the reason why they became they're on the autism spectrum. I'm sorry, you'll see me miss autism versus autism spectrum a lot. My wife gets on me all the time about that. There is a big difference in that regard. So definitely, I think again, even if you don't have family members who are on the autism spectrum, it's definitely important to kind of understand what can cause it and what doesn't. And right now, we know that there is a variety of environmental and genetic factors that may attribute to a kid being autistic, but we still don't have any pinned down reason why you happen to be autistic. So and because of that, that kind of takes some of the burden away from the parents. Like, let's not put the burden on parents and try to blame parents for their kids being autistic. Like, let's just say, what, unfortunately, life happens, and we just have to kind of move forward and kind of deal with how we need to deal with kind of in that regards. So again, I just I don't want to go too long, because like I said, I always I do put this caveat out there. I'm not a pediatrician. I'm just a parent of a child who has autism. So I want to make sure that, when we see, these articles about, another doctor says it's the proteins that cause autism, like that, I want to be as vocal and knocking that doctor down as quick as possible. Man, do people outgrow autism? So, and that's a very good question, man. So the autism, it's a lifelong behavioral trait. So it's not as if you tend to outgrow it, but what tends to happen is if when you go through certain therapy, behavioral therapy, occupational therapy, you tend to be able to adjust better to it. So you tend to be able to adjust to better social situations. Some autistic kids who are nonverbal. So you may not ever be as verbal as a person who does not have autism, but at least you tend to be approved from it. Exactly. So you get better coping skills around it. So it's not something that kind of like goes away. It's just something that you have to adjust the life around that patient or that person with autism. So, and which is why it's so important to be seen early. It's important to get therapy as early as possible, and it's important to just understand that there's going to be some things that that they do that's going to seem out of the ordinary to you, but for them that's kind of in their box. Like I know, for example, my daughter, she certain sounds, certain music, certain like TV shows that she loves watching, she can't listen to the theme song of it because for some reason hearing the theme song of it like kind of drives her a little crazy. So she kind of puts her ear above her ears and kind of starts screaming. So then we already understand it. So we know when a certain show is about to come on, I just press the mute button, let that theme music go, and then once the theme music is done, I go ahead and unmute it, and she's able to watch her TV show. And I can tell you and when we talk about the spectrum standpoint, it kind of is spread out. Again. Some people don't like to talk. Some people don't like, to be around anybody. Some people like to be around everybody. So it definitely is a very wide range. Exactly. Kids get overstimulated. So that's what it is. So their sensitivity to these sounds or talks or people around them is just like kind of through the roof. In that respect there. So again, it's definitely something that, and again, that's why it's so important to, to get the right help as early as possible, and, to help them kind of ease their transition into the quote unquote normal lifestyle, as you can. And again, I'll tell you, I'm not, an autism expert. My wife is probably much better. Not probably is. My wife is much better at that aspect of itself. But just being, a physician, I just felt that, being a physician, being a parent, I thought it was, in my right to like at least try to learn as much as possible moving forward. So, so when I see these physicians out here who will quickly blame, who are still going on this old adage of stuff that we've been like debunking for almost decades now, but they still kind of bring that up. The good factor of it is that, it lets us know that, it's not just people with certain education levels who really think about this. We got people from all walks of life, from all education levels who really believe, that vaccines and autism, there's some relation to it. So, just as much as they can, believe that, like I said, it's okay to believe, but, you can't speak of it as if it's truth. And that's why we're here. That's why that's why I wrote the post, because I just wanted to make sure that, because again, I got friends who have autistic children. I have autistic children. So once I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, I got no choice but to write about this, because this is, and I think that, he was family medicine. So again, this is not this isn't like a radiologist or some, no slide to the radiologist, to my radiologist friends. But, it wasn't like a person who doesn't have, contact with, patient care. This was a person who, he sees kids, he sees adults, and he really still thinks like vaccines and autism, like that's still a thing. So again, don't want to flood your timelines too long. I know I've been, it looks like it's almost 1 o'clock now, so I'm actually about to head out. But again, if you had not had a chance, go ahead, check out drpierre'sblog.com. Go ahead and check out drpierre'sblog.com/autism if you want to read that recent blog post.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Lunch and Learn with Dr. Barry. If you want to find out more about the episode, please go to www.lunchlearnpod.com. That's www.lunchlearnpod.com. LUNCHLEARNPOD.com for the show notes and any links that may have been mentioned in today's episode. If you're interested in joining the Lunch Learn Pod community, head over to either the website lunchlearnpod.com or join us on Facebook and Twitter with the same username, Lunch Learn Pod. And again, you can find all of these links on the website. If you have any questions, any comments, or any requests for topics to debut on the show, please let that be known. And don't forget to use the hashtag LunchLearnPod when you're listening to the episode. Again, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to today's episode, and I'll see you next week.